Welcome to the Surviving Siblings podcast. I'm your host, Maya Roffler. As a surviving sibling myself, I knew that I wanted to share my story, my brother's story. I lost my brother to a homicide in November 2016, and after going through this experience, I knew that I wanted to share my story and his story. And now it's your turn to share your stories. I have another incredible surviving sibling with me today. Her name is Kara Leigh. Kara, welcome to the Surviving Siblings podcast.
Hi, Maya. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I am always excited to have a sibling, which sounds like such a weird thing, but excited to have a sibling on in a loss that we haven't really uncovered and talked about before. And there's so many layers about the loss of your brother that are interesting to me, and we're going to explore and talk about today. But you've lost your brother in a way we have not discussed on the show before. And there's also aspects of your loss where there's not a lot of closure that happens, right? And I did a full episode very early on in the first season where I say there's no such thing as closure. And I feel like we're going to talk about that quite a bit on this episode today. But before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about you and Brandon, Kara. Take us back in time. Tell us a little bit about you guys growing up, what life was like, your dynamic, your relationship, because you only lost Brandon a little over 4 years ago. So
Yeah.
take us back in time and share that with us.
Well, I come from a family of 3 kids. Brandon was my older brother. I was the middle, and I have a younger sister as well who's still with us. We really were really lucky growing up. Our parents were okay, well off financially. Let's not be around the bush. So we never really wanted for anything. We got to go on holidays. We got to do the camping. We got to have the toys and, all the things. And so life was really easy when we were young. But my brother got into his addiction really early. Um, he started using that we know of when he was about 14. I think it
That's
was
young.
actually a little earlier. Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
actually a little earlier because he
hmm
got somebody pregnant at 13 and had a child at 14, which we didn't find out about until the child was 19. So,
Wait. I mean, we're like 2 minutes into this and you're already dropping some, this is such a plot twist. What? Okay, we'll come back
yeah.
to that. But oh my gosh. Okay. Okay.
Well, my parents worked a lot. They owned a business. They worked a ton. We were really busy in our life with extracurriculars, dance, hockey, sports, you name it. So, in a way, it was really easy to get up to no good. I come from a family of a lot of drinking. So there was a lot of drinking and partying on the parental side of our
Yep.
childhood too. Anybody who's lived in that knows that it's easy to get into it when it's
And
just
there's a
like
normalcy around it, right? So
yeah.
it's not like I relate to that myself. And I attest sometimes my brother's addiction and even my struggles with it earlier in life because it's just around. You don't think twice about it. I get you, Kara. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, you really don't. Like alcohol just is like the normal thing that adults do after work, like it was never a big thing. And like even pot wasn't a big thing. Like those were considered non-discussion items amongst the adults. So
Right.
when he started using, I don't think that they really caught on too soon when it was pot, but when he started getting into the heavier stuff, they figured it out pretty quickly and tried to almost scare him straight.
When
The
that happened, how old was he?
I want to say 15.
So this happened pretty quickly for him. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He got into crack really young.
Wow.
So it really early on, it created like a tension within my family. My mom was always trying to protect the kids. My dad had a serious anger issues. And so it just created this division really, really early on, his using. And I remember they talked about rehab, never really did it. Rehab isn't super readily available in Canada. There's very few government funded spots, and there really wasn't much around us at that point either. Um, to pay for it is in the 5 digits.
Yeah.
So, even though we had money, I don't think they ever thought that was something that they would spend it on. And then he got, like, I don't know, we went on we did so many things together. We just, like we went on so many holidays and enjoyed so many things in our life, but when he started getting into the drugs and it started causing so many problems with him and my dad fighting, that's where I found that I started withdrawing from just wanting to participate, and I started running away when I was 15, 16, um, just to get away from all the anger in the household.
Right. Right. So it really trickled into you as well. And what's the age difference between you and your brother, Kara?
He was born September '81 and I was April '83, so 2 years, 2 and a
Yeah,
half
you were
years.
quite close in age. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a hard-hitting thing after he died too, was the age surpassing.
Oh, yeah. That is a moment, and that's something that I hear all the time from siblings. I mean, you guys know you connect with me on social platforms and stuff, and people will always say, like, that's a big moment. I am older than my brother, right? So that never happened for me, but I watched it like clockwork happen with my
Yeah.
sister who's younger than him, and she's 7 years younger than him. So it took a little bit of time. So I had gotten into this space, Kara, where, I was interviewing siblings doing this show
Yeah.
and hearing about it. And I was like, let's see. I didn't say anything to her because I was like, let's see. And I watched it like clockwork when she turned the same age as him. And then when she turned 28, which is a year older than him, and she ended up getting a tattoo for him. It was like we were now aligned more for, again, you've got your tattoo for him, right? It's like clockwork that this happens. It's so fascinating. Okay, so your brother is going through a lot and he went into I mean, that's hardcore drugs that
Yeah.
he's
Oh, yeah.
into at this point at a very young age. He's very young. And things are quite contentious between him and your father, and you're
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
escaping from all this. So, how does this continue to move forward? Because you only lost your brother 4 years ago. So, what does life look like in your adult life as you guys leave the home and kind of go into your lives? What was that like for you?
I mean, I spent the bulk of my teenage years cleaning up his messes.
Sure.
I remember when I got my driver's license when I turned 16, I was going out with my girlfriends to go drive around, just wanted to drive, right? And he's like, "Oh, come on, I'll let me take you with you, or take me with you. I'll give you some gas. I'll pay for some gas." And I remember stopping at a gas station and he was pumping the gas, and all of a sudden he's got the door open and he's throwing everything out of his pockets and all his jewelry off into the car, just chucking it in there, saying, "Don't say a word, don't say a word." And then he's just like gone. And this car behind us had taken him, putting him in the trunk of the car. Thank God that, and I found out it was a drug dealer that he owed money to, and I found out that the boyfriend I had at the time was actually acquaintances with one of the guys that was there, and he knew me, and so he came up to my car and he's like, "Hey, don't worry, this has to happen, but I won't let them kill him." He's like, "Follow me and I'll keep you informed." And so I remember sitting in a an apartment parking lot for hours
Oh my
just
god.
waiting. And, like, cell phones weren't a thing then. We had, like, a
Right.
family phone or, like, a bag phone, like, it wasn't a thing. So I'm sitting in this car just waiting while he's getting the shit beat out of him.
If you've lost a sibling, trust me, I know exactly how you feel. I'm Maya. I'm the host of the Surviving Siblings podcast, but I'm also the founder of Surviving Siblings Support. I know that going through this experience is extremely difficult, whether you've lost a brother like me, a sister, or perhaps more than one sibling. Trust me, we know exactly how you feel. So that's why I started our Patreon account. You can click below to find out more about our Patreon. If you join our Patreon group, it'll give you just a little bit of extra support that you need along your journey as a bereaved sibling, or as we like to call it, a surviving sibling. We offer monthly support groups. We offer a free copy of our grief guide that is actually found on Amazon. It's called the Grief Guide for Surviving Siblings. We also offer direct messaging to our community and to me for extra support. And we have incredible events. We have workshops throughout the year that you'll get access to, and you'll also have access to our summit that happens annually. And so much more as you'll connect with a community of surviving siblings that understand the journey of losing a sibling. You can click below to join us today and also check out some additional VIP features that we offer. I hope to see you in the group, and until then, keep on surviving, my surviving siblings.
But yeah, it continued going on and on and on, and then, eventually I moved away. Left the city that we lived in, and I moved, about 2 hours south. My parents had in this time split up when I was 18 and gone through a nasty divorce. Um, I moved to Calgary to be closer to my dad and get out of that toxic city that we lived in. And he ended up he had a girlfriend. Had her for quite a few years. And then in 2004, they had been together, I think about 3 years at that point, and she got pregnant. At this point, we didn't know about the first baby from when he was 13,
I was
so
gonna say, if we go back in time for a moment, there's another baby that we haven't talked about yet,
yeah,
which we'll come back to. Okay, so
yeah.
he's about to become a father for what you think is the first time, but it's not. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and my mom kept saying to me, "I think he's gonna clean his act up. I think that something's coming that's just gonna make him clean his act up. He's gonna shape
sure.
up." And I'm like, "Yeah, right." And then I found out his girlfriend was pregnant. So they have a baby. I actually ended up getting pregnant. So they had a baby. 8 weeks later, I had a baby. Then I had a baby, and 6 months later, they had a baby.
Wow.
And while I was pregnant with the second baby, they were still together. She was not yet pregnant, and I was having a horrific pregnancy. I spent the better part of 5 months of this pregnancy in the hospital. But he called me one day, and I could tell he was messed up on the phone, like, he was just gone.
Right.
And he's like, "She's gonna leave me, she's gonna take my kid, she's gonna leave me, I don't know what to do." He's bawling his eyes out, he's unconsolable. And I'm like, "Well, you know what you need to do. You know what you need to do. If that's what she's saying she's gonna do, you know that she deserves to do that, and you deserve to have it done, and you know what you need to do to fix it." So, I had pulled some strings. My ex-sister-in-law at the time worked at the hospital, and so I got her to pull some strings within the healthcare system and got him into a detox in my city. Because to go get into any programs, you have to go and be detoxed for 5 days. And I got in the car. I'd just gotten out of the hospital, like, 2 days before. Got in the car, drove 2 hours north to go pick him up because he couldn't drive, and when I got there, the music was so loud, you could hear it down the block, like, he's passed out, just gone, and I'm like, "Oh, good, this is gonna be fun." Got him in the car, brought him home. He had spent a night at my house because check into detox was at, like, 5 AM or something stupid. And so I went that night and I went and got him, like, some clean clothes and, like, comfy pajamas and like, comfy stuff for I knew it wasn't gonna be good.
Yeah.
Got him
This is not a fun
paper,
experience.
pen,
Yep.
pillows, blankets, like, all the
Mhm.
comfort items, and I'm like, "This is gonna happen." And then that night when he passed out, I phoned everybody in my family. My grandma was in the city. I phoned my dad, my mom, my sister. I phoned his closest friends and I said, and his girlfriend. And I said, if he calls you to pick him up, you do not do it. You leave him there.
Mhm.
Because I come from a family of enablers. They'll all do it. And so they all agreed not to. And what do you know? His freaking girlfriend ends up being the one who comes and picks him up.
I
Calls her
so felt like
crying,
that's
"I
what you
don't
were
have a
leading up to.
problem.
Mhm.
I don't have a problem. I don't belong here." And somehow he convinced her that, and somehow they convinced her mother that, and they thought going camping was going to fix it.
Oh my gosh, Kara.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a big moment in
So,
the story, I'm sure, like, that you think back to often, right? You're like, "If
yeah,
only." Do you go back in time sometimes and you're like, "If only he had stayed, like, what would be like,
yeah,
I know it's
all
not
the time.
healthy for us to do that, but there are these moments, especially when we have a sibling who struggles with addiction, 'cause mine did as well, and it's tough because 'cause you're like, "Well, what if this? What if that?" And, like, you can't live there, right? But,
Yeah.
like, I wanna make it normal for everybody that listens to this show and, like, everybody that's lost a sibling or someone to addiction like us, like, it's normal to feel those things. We can't live there, but it's normal. So
Yeah,
that's really
I
helpful
always
to
say,
hear.
you know what?
Yeah.
You can go and take a visit, ask the questions, just don't unpack your bags and live there.
Oh, I
It's
love
not a place
that,
to stay.
Kara.
Vacation, not a destination, right?
Yeah, love that. Absolutely agree with you. Yeah.
They ended up having another kid, I ended up having like, all our kids are like boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
And then they ended up splitting up anyway, which we knew was gonna happen.
Mhm.
He had a little bit after his second baby was born. I kind of call those the quiet days because he was good for a bit after she was born. He wanted to be around the kids. He was taking the kids swimming all the time and just like doing the dad thing, enjoying it. And then, I mean, anybody who's dealt with or has loved somebody who's dealt with addiction knows it takes 1 second to change it
Mhm.
all. And that was it. And never really got him back after that. We kind of spent all of our adult years in like a back and forth of me cutting him off because his behaviors aren't healthy for me to have to continually deal with, him promising me I'm never gonna die from this, I've got this. And then he apparently got sober for a few months the summer before he died. COVID was really hard on him though. Like he was alone, he wasn't seeing his kids at this point, and from then it kind of trickled. So when he got sober after that, I didn't even know. He didn't tell me. I was the only person he didn't tell.
Why do you think that is?
I think because he was embarrassed, because I had fought so hard from him in the past. I think that now it was like, I don't wanna tell her until I know it's good to go.
Yeah, until it, like, sticks, until this is,
Yeah.
like, the one. He felt like you were the the big honcho in all of this, like,
I was the
"I wanna
older
prove her."
sibling,
Yeah, "I
you
wanna
know?
prove." Right, "I wanna prove to her that I can do this." Yeah. Yeah,
I was
I
the only
mean,
one that didn't enable him at all ever. I
which is
never
hard.
said, "You can come stay with me for free because you're too busy spending money on drugs to pay for rent." I never, gave him a soft place to land in it. I always stuck to my guns that I'm not going to support your habit. You are an adult. You need to get yourself out of this. I've offered help. I've tried to help in productive ways, but I won't help in offering you a cushioned bed when you're not doing anything to help yourself.
Yeah, Kara, I think it's so hard to have that role in the family. It's really hard to have that
The
role.
caretaker.
Yeah, but it's interesting because the person like your brother, like my brother, that struggles with addiction, they don't always see you in those moments as the caretaker, but you are. And it's interesting because my parents both enabled my brother so much, and in different ways. My father more financially, my mom somewhat financially, but she didn't have the
Same.
kind of money my dad did, right? So it was more from
Exact
love.
same.
Right, care God, we have it's so interesting. Every person that comes on the show, I have different things in common with, and we have this in common, and it's, it was really hard to do tough love because I'm leading up to this question for you because a lot of siblings, as you see on TikTok and in our Facebook group in different places, they struggle with the guilt. They struggle with that guilt because they were the tough one or they were the one that gave kind of tough love. And I'm sure that's something that you go through, and we'll talk about it more later in the episode too. But that's a hard component to this, right? To know, like, you knew you were doing the right thing, but also to
Yes.
lose your sibling, then you feel guilty. So you've got to balance both of that. And that's really hard. And I'm sure you're struggling with that too, to this day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've done years of therapy. I'm the only person in my family who's actually put effort into going to therapy to try and heal my wounds from the past. And then when he died, that was a huge focus of therapy was my guilt, was like, "Oh my god, did he know I loved him when he died? Did he know I cared? Did he just think that I was this horrific human being who put up a wall and said, 'Nope, you know, your admissions ended.'" So, I do struggle with that a lot, and I think more so because I know that I was hard on him. I know that I was a little bit cold at the end because I was just so fed up with it by then, you know?
It's a long time to be going through this. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a long time.
25 plus years of his
Yeah.
addiction. So,
Yeah. So take us to that moment. Take us to when you lost him in 2022. Like you said, look, COVID was tough for all of us, but I do feel that COVID was especially hard on people with addiction. And I'm not saying it wasn't especially hard on other people, like, especially like really social people, it was super hard on them too. Don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, I mean, because I'm an extrovert and I was like going nuts so that I wasn't
yeah.
traveling and doing things. So, like, yeah. But I feel like people with addiction, I'm not saying they're the only ones that suffer, but I feel like there is like a lot of that pain there because we were literally put in isolation where drinking was like encouraged. It was
The
like,
only thing was
yeah,
open.
right. Nothing was open, everything could be delivered, and it was like,
Yeah,
have your drinks, stay at home, Netflix and binge and whatever, and
yeah.
it's like everybody was drinking, so it was like it was this weird thing that it was, like, socially acceptable to be, like, drinking all the time and, like, just being at
And,
home,
like,
it's
all
like
day.
oh, well, it was like, "Oh, you're having a tough day? No problem, have your cocktail at 12." Like, literally, this was how it
Yeah.
was, so that's why I always say I find it kind of a difficult environment for people who struggle with drugs and alcohol, for sure. Like, what the hell else were you gonna do? I'm not saying that it was okay, but you know what I mean? So, I
And I
get
think
why he was struggling. Well,
the
for sure.
loneliness really got to him because he lived alone. He didn't have a roommate. He didn't have anybody that he lived with. He's wasn't seeing his kids.
Yeah,
He, like, it just I was a city away. My sister had babies, like newborn twins that were NICU babies, so he couldn't be around them.
right.
So it was just like a whole, like, just a tornado of, you know, crap that happened.
Yeah,
Um, but oh, before I get to the actual day, I will
yeah.
quickly brief you on the 4th baby
Yeah,
because
no, tell us.
that was a random thing. I was out of town driving for work, and this 2014, I remember, and I got this he kept phoning, and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't wanna deal with you right now." And finally, I'm like, "Okay, I got a 20-minute stretch of driving here. I'm gonna phone him while I'm driving and just,
Right.
like, get this done, and then I have an excuse to get off the phone because he could talk forever. And he's like, I phone it, and all he says is, "You're a great aunt." I'm like, "I know." Like, "Okay, I know I'm a great aunt." At this point, I had, like, what, 6 nieces and nephews?
Yeah,
So or 7? He's like, "No, you are a great aunt." And I'm like, "What? Can you just do this in English, please?" He's like, "Okay." He's like, "So I got this phone call." And anyways, for it turns out it was the baby mama calling to say that she did not have a termination when he was 13 years old when he knew she was pregnant back then. She kept the baby, has been raising it this whole time, looks identical to my brother, sounds identical to my brother, same mannerisms, everything. Kid's 19 years old and has a 1-year-old, so my brother is now a grandpa.
that's insane. And this was the first time you found out that the child, it, like,
Eve ever
existed
was a
and
thing.
oh my god, that's
And the funniest
wild.
thing is the child went to school with my mom's best friend's daughter
Get
his
out of
whole
here.
school life, and he literally is a duplicate of my brother. I don't know how she didn't put it together.
It's so crazy. Oh my gosh.
Different last name, obviously, so, I mean, but
But
still, it was very
still,
strange.
yeah,
So,
that is
yeah,
weird.
So right before we found out he died it was Christmas because he January 6th is when he died. Um, that Christmas, I stayed home with just, like, my husband and my kids, and my sister went to my mom's house for Christmas that year. They're all in the same city, and I guess my brother went too. And my sister phoned me after he left, and she just said, "He's gonna die." That's
Whoa.
all she said. I'm like, "What?" She's like, "He looked like a corpse." She said his face was sunken, he was gray, he was so skinny, and after I saw him when he had passed, I was like, "Yep, now I know what she was talking about," because it was only a couple weeks later, right? So, that night, it was, like, 10:36 PM, Um, I put my phone on do not disturb at night because I come from a family of drinkers who like to happy dial when they've had too many
Mhm.
at any given hour. So it goes on do not disturb. My sister kept calling, and I'm like, "Oh my god,
Which will break
why?"
through that. Yep. Uh-huh. Yep.
I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, she obviously needs something." And I knew at this point she was going through a nasty divorce, like
Mm.
really nasty with like 2-year-old 2-year-old twins? Yeah, 2-year-old twins.
Oh my
So
god.
it
Yeah.
was and it was just really, really bad for her at that point. So I was like, "Okay, I better pick up the phone." So I finally pick it up, and I will tell you, I have not slept a day without that sound in my ear. All I can hear is that sound. The sound of her screaming was annihilation. I felt like I could feel the earth shaking, and I just knew. I couldn't understand what she was saying, not a word, but the screaming, I knew. And I'm like, "Okay, you need to slow down. What happened?" And all she said is Facebook. "We found out my brother died on Facebook."
Get out of here. I
Oh,
posted
there's a
this.
little note for other people in the world that might be listening.
Yeah.
If you are not the immediate family member of the person who died, do not post RIP so and so on their on Facebook until you know the friggin' family has found out. Because from then I had to scramble, phone my father. My sister was with my mom, so she told her, and then I had to get on the phone and try and find out where the hell my brother was because nobody knew.
So who posted this? What is wild though, Kara, is like you're you might be the first interview that this has happened. I apologize if I forget, guys, but I have heard other siblings telling me, "Yeah, someone posted this." I'm like, "Guys, social media is a beautiful, wonderful thing, but it is not for personal stuff like this." So, yes, take the disclaimer from you, Kara, for sure. But, like,
Oh, it was awful.
who posted this? Who would do that?
I think it was his best friend who I inherited after he passed away.
Yeah.
I think I didn't see the post by the time that I had started making phone calls, it was down.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess what happened is this kid that we grew up with, same name as my brother, weird enough, he started sending messages to every single person on Facebook with my brother's last name. I didn't get a message because I didn't have the same last name.
Oh my gosh.
So everybody with my brother's last name had a message or a message request
Okay.
from this guy saying, "Brandon's dead." And that's all it said.
Oh my god.
I'm like, "What the hell?" So I found the guy's phone number. I got on the phone with him and I'm like, "I need details. Like, what the heck is going on?" And I got as much detail as I could from him. He named the funeral home that he said had him. So I called the funeral home. They told me at that point, and like, keep in mind, this is like 10:30, 11 p.m. I got the phone call at 10:36, so we're within a half an hour still of all of this commotion, and I phoned the funeral home, and they told me that he was already being transported to the city that I'm in for autopsy. I'm like, "Okay, I'm a little confused at this point because nobody has contacted my family. There has not been police, there has not been a medical examiner, there has not nobody." So they found my brother, they robbed him.
Who did? Who
Then
did?
they sent messages out to everybody with the last name saying he's dead and left.
Okay, so your brother had died and these people had found him, robbed him, and then made a call and left.
Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah,
Wow. Okay, so
yeah.
that's
So
what you
we
ended up
actually
finding
thought
out.
that they killed him for a very long time. That was
Okay.
our assumption, was that they killed him.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, I phoned the RCMP in Red Deer on February 22nd, I want to say, 2022.
Mhm.
I still haven't got a phone call back.
Yeah, you had mentioned that when you had connected with us.
But yeah, so they robbed him and then phoned it in and sent the messages out. And then I guess the cops came and hauled his body away.
What?
And nobody's ever contacted my parents.
That's crazy. And, like, what like, did he owe them money? Is that why they were robbing him? Like, what was the origin of
They're just
this?
all a
Like
bunch of addicts that
yeah.
Steal
are all
to
toxic to each
feed,
other.
steal to feed, right? Yeah, exactly. I think they're both, one of them I think is dead now, and the other one I think is in jail, so
Wow.
for other offenses.
He had, like, this guilty conscience to, like, message all these people after that happened?
Yeah, like, it's super bizarre because there's, like, a security camera at the door, but there's no footage, so it's like it was disconnected. I guess there was Narcan all over the living room,
So they were trying to resuscitate him and bring him.
but his autopsy shows there's no Narcan in his system. And even
Did
the
they?
drugs in his system, there was fentanyl in his system in the autopsy, but it was less than the amount that I got for a colonoscopy on Tuesday. So it's not even enough to have caused him to get high at that point.
So, bring us forward to, like, the autopsy and what you got like, did you guys ever get results? Did you ever find out, like, what killed him? Like, what happened? I mean, this is like
Yeah, so when he died, I just kind of went into rescuer mode. Like, that's just kind of my default setting, is to take over and get the stuff done, get the work done. So I was dealing with everything, his taxes and the government stuff and the coroner, like the medical examiner's offices. But I'm in Canada and our system is so messed up that unless it's like a suspicious death of a homicide or something that they find, the cops find randomly or something like that, um there's no rush on the autopsy at all, and toxicology is always really long. So I had to wait. I I waited. They had him that day, so the 6th of January, and I waited until December. I want to say it was the 18th of December, 18th or 22nd. It was right before Christmas. Um, that I got the results. So it was almost a full year before we had
I was
any
gonna say you
answers.
lost him J in January. That's insane. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was nerve-wracking because they don't really give you a heads up. It comes in the mail, it doesn't come in email, there's not really any notice. So, and you have to pay for it. So, when I had sent away the application and the fee, then I got a receipt in the mail, and when that came, I just remember, like, felt like throwing up when I got to the mailbox and saw an office of the medical examiner. I'm like, "Oh god, already?" But it was just a receipt. So then it was just like every time I checked the mail, it was just like anxiety through the roof, just wondering what was gonna be there for a whole year. And I wanna say it was November that I finally called them and I was like, "Hey, I'm not trying to pester you, but is there any way I can get a heads up when this is going out at least so that I can just be prepared instead of just always being anxious for
Yeah.
it?"
I don't blame you. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so then it came and I kind of was torn on whether I wanted to just, like, read it or if I wanted my husband to look first.
Right.
He is amazing. He even built my brother's casket. So,
Oh my god.
like,
Wait, what?
right. Yeah.
Alright, what's your
When I
husband's
went His name's Mark.
Okay, Mark, we love you. That's amazing. Because not
Yeah,
all of us have
he's
supportive spouses when we go through this, right?
no,
So
he drove me up there right after my brother died, and I spent the next few days with my mom and my sister dealing with the
yeah.
funeral stuff, and when we were
Mhm.
there and I saw, like, of course, my brother had no money, no life insurance, no
Right.
plans. So when I saw what they were wanted to put him in and what the cost of it was, I was like, no." I threw up in my mouth, left the room, phoned my husband, I'm like, "Can you build a coffin?" Just,
And he
like,
said
random.
yes.
He's like, "I mean, I haven't, but I can."
Oh my god.
He even laid in it to make sure my brother would fit.
Mark, who are you? Do you have a brother? I'm just kidding.
He has 2 actually.
Okay, we'll talk after this. Anyway,
They're
so
both married.
sorry. Okay, unfortunate.
But
Unfortunate for everyone
he
else.
even, like, engraved "Only the Good Die Young" in it because my brother loved Billy Joel, and, like, that was, like, a special thing for us. So, even though it's burned now, at least it was pretty for me to yell at him in it for a few hours.
Yeah,
But, yeah, so, like,
that's hard.
I decided that I was going to read it. I couldn't wait.
Sure.
So I read the results, and I will tell you, warning to anybody that is going to read an autopsy and toxicology report, that literally tells you every detail of their body. I had to read about areas of my brother I did not wanna read about.
Exactly, and the
It's
other part of
very
this
detailed.
too, I'm so glad you're talking about this, Kara, I really appreciate it because the other part of it too, it's really detailed because you read about every part of their body because they examine
Everything.
everything, but then in addition to that, it's also really difficult when you're in deep mourning and grief, which, hello, in the first year, let alone couple years, you're in deep grief, so it's quite difficult to read about someone that you love so deeply in
Yeah.
such a, like, 10,000, 50,000 foot view, right? It's so removed emotionally. Did you
Yeah.
for me, that's what was very difficult too. I was like, "How dare they?" kind of, and I'm like, "Maya," like, I had to remind myself, and I always talk to all of you guys about that too in group and different, engagements that we have. Just remember this is their job, right? It's not that they don't care about your sibling, it's
Yeah.
just they're not. Did you find that a little bit unarming too to kind of read it in that kind of, like, totally unemotional, objective kind of way? It can be a little intense. Did you find that too?
I mean, I was a psych major when he died.
So you had
I
a little prep
originally
for
gone
this.
in I'd
Yeah.
originally gone in to do midwifery and switched to psych. So I was prepared, and actually, funny enough or not, this happened over the winter semester break. My first class that I had back when I went back to school was the psychology of death and dying,
Get out of here. That's
and
crazy.
my major assignment was to plan my own funeral.
Really? God, we don't have classes like that in the US. That's
It was
interesting.
the best class.
It sounds incredible.
She is one of the only licensed phenologist, I think is what it's called.
I had no idea.
Specialist on death.
Wow. Yeah, we're
Um,
so undereducated here in the US, so this is fascinating to me because, like, you know what I'm saying? I think that's, I mean, I literally just got done chatting with another gal who's a therapist on our show, and she was saying, disclaimer, and I learned this in 21 when I started thinking about doing the show, that, like, grief therapists, like, they don't actually and therapists, like, they don't actually get trained on grief here in the US, Kara. There's no
what?
class they take. Yeah. So, I'm telling you, Canada's ahead of the curve. When you go through school and you become a therapist or you become a PhD, you become a doctor in psychology, there's no class you take on grief.
Oh, that's
None.
scary.
Isn't that wild? So it's up to them to educate themselves. That's why we're very picky about who we have on and who comes and speaks at, like, our summit and stuff. We wanna make sure they have an education in the space and have experienced sibling grief. We have to be very
I
cautious
was
about that.
also a crisis line responder at
Yeah.
the time, so I had been kind of in
Good exposure to
that
this. Yeah.
routine, right? Like, that was what I was living was
Yeah.
psychology and crisis. So, it was kind of it almost helped me compartmentalize everything
Yeah.
and just, like, push it all down to get through the answers, right? And I think that one of the most important things that I learned having to take that class right then, I think it was actually really beneficial for me because it gave me a lot of tools to think about how grief does affect you and about the lies out there about grief, really. Like, it's not some sort of linear thing that you're going to hit this step and then this step and this step and this step and then you're fine, right? Grief isn't linear. It doesn't work the same for everybody. It doesn't look the same and it doesn't have a timeline. It's more of an oscillation that can come out of nowhere, kick you in the side of the head and run away just as fast as it showed up. It's
Mhm.
just something that's always there.
Yeah.
You just learn to live around the hole. I started writing a book about him after he died. Because when I got the autopsy, I
How
guess I
fast was that? Yeah, how quickly did you start that? Because I've had other people share this with me, and, like, some people are like, "That's how I worked through it." Did you just start taking pen to paper right away?
pretty
What did
immediately,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was a part of your processing. Yeah.
Well, I knew so I'll finish the autopsy. So I read it, got through it, turned out his cause of death was actually emphysema, not drug overdose.
Mhm.
He did have drugs in his system, but emphysema was the main cause, which we know was from years of smoking all sorts of things. Um, so that was almost like that kind of drove a different angle for me because now I'm like, wait a minute. Everybody's always focused on the bad. And then I heard this person, I can't remember who it was. It might have been like Gabor Mate or someone said that people will remember you for your mistakes and the bad that you do for years and years and years and years. They'll only remember the good you do while it's in front of them. And that shifted my book focus. I had been writing about his addiction and getting through that and my side of his addiction. But as much as I want to tell that and that survival, I also want people to know the good of him because
Yeah.
he wasn't just this addiction. He wasn't just the bad things. He was also the most loving human being on the planet. He was so kind. He just had something in him that he couldn't work through and didn't know how to work through and wasn't given the tools to work through. We come from a family of let's sweep it under the rug and pretend it didn't happen, not let's figure out what happened so it doesn't happen again. And so that was kind of the catharsis for me was writing about him, reading quotes, listening to lectures, going to my class on death and like gleaning from all these people that have all this experience in the area and using that to drive me to make it something positive instead of reflecting on the negative of what had happened.
I think that's beautiful. I mean, Kara, that's amazing. And thank you for sharing that with us. And again, I'm so intrigued that you guys have a class about this. Again, it's so intriguing. And that's why I love like interviewing people from totally different backgrounds and places because it's fascinating to see how different cultures handle or don't handle grief. I think it's wonderful for all of you who are listening to hear Kara and like just you weren't just like journaling. Like you were also going to a class and like you were doing things for yourself and like there's all these things that you were doing for yourself in your grief and I think sometimes people get advice that like oh just write everything down or just go to therapy or just like there's a lot of components that go into processing and like working through your grief. And I really love what you said about the fact that like this whole quote because I've heard it too. I know exactly what you're talking about where like people are remembered for just in the
Yeah.
moment the good stuff but like and I think there's an additional thing I would add on to that too, Kara. I think sometimes people glorify people too when they've died. Like we don't talk about we just glorify them, right? And what's so interesting to me on this experience in just sharing my experience and then having the honor of sharing your experiences as siblings coming on the show and then everyone that listens. Um, I remember when my father said to me, I didn't know how he would take this show. I didn't know. Most of my family's not happy about the show. I don't care.
I haven't told
But
anyone.
yeah, well, that's okay. It's okay. And so it's an interesting thing. And I remember when my dad finally gave me his opinion about it, and it was about 2 years into the show. And I was like, "Well, what do you think?" Not that it was stopping me, because here we are, right? Summit support group, show, you know what I mean? Like this has become something that I've done as a passion project to help siblings, right? And I'm not stopping. But he was like, one of the things that I think made me really appreciate it and really like what you're doing is you didn't just talk about my brother Andreas. You didn't just talk about the good. You talk about him as a human. You talk about you're not just saying he's just perfect because he died. You're talking about the good and the bad. And that really resonated with me. And I literally thought of that when you were just sharing about how you're like, I want to talk about the good. You should, because your brother is a human. They're not here anymore, right? They're not physically here, but like they're human. There's good and bad. There's good and bad that comes with me. There's good and bad that comes with you,
Yeah.
Kara, right? And so we deserve as humans to be remembered for all of it, and
Yeah.
to be honored in that way. And I think it's really beautiful that you are on a mission to do that for your brother as well, because I think it's important. And I remember feeling just so like yeah, like someone in my family actually gets it because, yeah, I'm trying to honor him and be really real about who he was. Like my brother was an addict and he struggled and he had mental health, stuff. But like my brother was also funny as hell, super
Yeah.
creative, the most determined person in the world. He was my biggest cheerleader. He was also an asshole to me sometimes. But you know what I mean? It's like all of that is what makes your person. And so I connect with you really deeply on that part of your story too. And I think it's really great. And I'm going to keep bugging you. I'm going to be like, when's that book coming out? Because I really would love to read your book.
I've
Yeah.
got it's probably about half done. I kind of let it go by the wayside for a bit. My health really took a turn. I think that after the compartmentalization quit and everything of my own grief kind of rushed out. It's the quiet after the storm, right? Everybody's around for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then everybody just drops off the face of the earth. And the dynamic of my familial relationships really changed over the last couple of years. And so I kind of just let the book go for a bit, but I've been revisiting it.
And I think that's also a good thing though, Kara, that like we share with everyone listening to your episode because I used to feel like this was like a sprint. Like I had to tell my brother's story, I had to solve the crime, I had to do all of these things. And like the reality is we're still here. We're grieving them. So whether it takes you a year, a decade, 20 years to finish the book, it's a part of your grieving journey and that's okay. It doesn't have to all and I think that's a part of the slowing down process and realizing that like cuz it feels like when you first lose your sibling, you're just like everything's an urgency and emergency and
Yeah.
you have to do it all. Did you yeah, it sounds like you
Oh,
experienced.
totally. Like, you
Yeah.
think that you need to get it all it's just gotta be sort and I mean, I am a control freak too. Like, I like to have things done a certain way, and I like to do it myself, and I like to be prepared, and so it definitely was like a go, 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 go for that year, and then after that, I was like, "Why am I rushing? I can rush. It's not gonna bring him back. It's not gonna change the outcome of what's already been. He is where he is, sitting on top of my piano in a plastic jar for now." But, like, it won't change anything, and it was never for anybody but me anyway, so I guess that's kind of let me slow down and be able to really put the thought into it that I want to.
Yeah. And when you're ready, we're excited to read it, and we're excited for you to be a part of the community. I'm so glad you found us, and I'm just thank you for sharing Brandon with us, and, you know, I am always looking to share, like, unique perspectives and unique stories, and, you know, I think it's really difficult when you lose a sibling who struggled with drugs, alcohol, addiction, and then you find out they died a different way because you were expecting a certain way. So there's that kind of aspect too, and then you're like, "Well"
Yeah.
so and then you read the
You're
autopsy and you're
prepared
like
for the call until it comes.
right. And then when there's a twist on the call, you're like, "Wait,
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that. I was preparing for" so I totally connect with you on
Yeah.
that level for sure. Kara, let me ask you this, and then we'll talk about where people can find you and where you're comfortable, but, um, what like, you're 4 over 4 years into this, one of our more newly bereaved siblings that has been on the show, but we just connected and I enjoyed connecting with you via email and I felt like this was
Me too.
you felt very ready and I'm so glad, you know, you shared everything with us today. But what is maybe something I haven't asked you or something that you want to share with all of the siblings and supporters listening from your experience and kind of where you're going? Maybe some words of wisdom, some hope you can give the audience and where you're going because I know it's been a journey for you and you've had some like, as you shared with us too, you've had some ailments and some things that have transpired from this, but you still wanted to come on and share Brandon with us and you still feel very hopeful. So anything I didn't ask you that you want to share with us or any last pieces of advice?
I don't think I have anything really. I think it's more just like just remember it's not a linear process. It's not steps in a row. You're not there's never an end to grief. I when I was researching grief and learning about it, I I stumbled upon I believe it's Japanese or kitsuki, I think it's called.
Okay.
When porcelain breaks, they don't throw it away. They mend it and they patch it back together with gold,
Yeah.
and that's what holds it together. So we may never heal. We probably won't ever heal from the loss of our siblings. That's just the reality of it. These are the people that were supposed to go through life with us for the longest amount of time. But we're not broken. Just think of all those little holes, those little missing pieces being patched up with little veins of gold. And then that's it. Just keep living. That's all we can do, right?
Yeah. That's beautiful. I was like, I don't know. And then when you described it, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, it's like a very ancient like practice of theirs. And it's
Yeah.
also the way that they show that we aren't broken, that even if things break apart, you come back together. And like the things that are quote unquote broken in us, they're filled with gold. That means they're so valuable. It's a beautiful thing. And then it becomes this even more beautiful piece of art. I
Yeah.
don't think we've ever talked about that on the show. So thank you for bringing that up, Kara. Yeah. I think it's a really good way because I do feel like, and this is not just losing a sibling, this is losing anything in life, any person, or maybe going through a trauma in life. We feel broken, and it's not the right way to look at it, but it's okay to look at it that way. But changing your perspective, just like you shared, is, I think it's invaluable, and it really helps you understand because the things that happen, like losing our sibling, especially in a traumatic way, like you and I have experienced and many of you have experienced, when we build ourselves, when we work together and we, like you said, you're never going to be like perfect afterwards, but like no one's perfect. So who cares? But
You're
when you
missing a
think of
part of
it,
you, right?
right, you are. And so, when you look at this piece of art that's filled in with gold, like I just love that. Thank you for sharing.
Well, and then, like, that's, like, what I think it's Billy Bob Thornton that said, like, "I live my life, I'm 50% happy and 50% sad at all times, and I don't
Yeah.
wanna be any different because
Yeah.
he deserves to have that."
Yeah. Every time I use that audio on TikTok, Kara, I do it every, like, 6 months or
It's a
so because
hard
people,
hitter.
they love it. Everybody loves
Yeah.
it, and I totally understand why, and I've always been a big fan of Billy Bob, and I remember when it was so interesting because the first time I heard that audio, I was like, "God, I've been saying some of these similar things, and I never heard it," right? And that's why I love that you brought that up too, because I don't think we've ever talked about it on the show, even though I use the audio, like, every couple months, because people love it, and it's good for them, and, like, whenever I see people start dropping in my comments, like, "Have you heard Billy Bob?" I'm like, "Oh, it's time to post the audio again," because I'm like, "Okay, we got some new folks here," right? But that's why it resonates so hard. It's not because I was so creative or even he was so creative. It's because he just is saying exactly what every single one of us is thinking at that point.
Totally, totally, and it's not something that you would have expected to come out of him either, like,
Well,
that's just not the
yes.
personality that you put with him, right? So
Right.
but it's just good to know, like, it's okay to not be okay. Like,
Totally.
it's okay.
And in our sibling way, right? He like adds that little kibosh
Yeah,
on there for us. So it's
totally.
awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing Brandon with us. Thank you for sharing you with us. Where are you comfortable people connecting with you? Email, social, what's best for you? Karen, we'll put it in the show notes.
So I am on all the platforms. I'm probably least active on Instagram, to be
Sure.
quite
So,
honest.
okay.
My TikTok is at adulting is easy. TikTok is at adulting is easy AOL. And on Facebook, I'm just my name, Kara, Kara hyphen Leigh, last name Lussier.
Okay, awesome. So we will link your socials in the notes if you guys want to reach out to Kara. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for listening to the Surviving Siblings podcast. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did creating it for you, then share it on your chosen social media platform. And don't forget to tag us at Surviving Siblings Podcast so that more surviving siblings can find us. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Surviving Siblings Podcast. All links can be found in the show notes, so be sure to check those out too. Thank you again for the support. Until the next episode, keep on surviving, my surviving siblings.